hiding things, harming others, stopping others from harming you. I'm Thane Riddle. This is Cloak and Dagger.
And threatened with a chainsaw. The headlines say he was tortured with a chainsaw. I think the truth is he was merely threatened with a chainsaw. I don't even know if the chainsaw was on. That'd be kind of loud. He was tied up with electrical wire. A gun was pointed at him. His feet was put in water, and he was tased. He was pistol whipped and forced to do coke so that he would stay awake. But hey, it was in a nice Soho pad. Nice place. Not that bad, right? Another guy, a tourist and an XRP maximalist, okay, so doubly has it coming, was robbed of $123,000 worth of crypto. He took a fake Uber, okay, this guy called an Uber. Somebody very cunning knew that he had called an Uber somehow, and he just went up and said his Uber nickname. He assumed that that guy was the Uber driver. He got in the car. He gave him a smoke that had devil's breath in it. Okay, this is straight out of Q's lab. We've got James Bond fucking kidnapping people for their crypto here, pretending to be an Uber driver, giving you a drugged cigarette that you for some reason smoke. And yeah, he like woke up with a bunch of his crypto gone, but most of it was Ripple, so it's probably doing him a favor. So yeah, I'm just telling you these scare stories. This is happening all the time now. This is happening like every fucking week now. So you're gonna hear me tell you stories like this again because they're very funny. I'm gonna laugh at you if this happens to you. Just know that. Here's what you gotta do. First off, you shouldn't be able to give someone tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars worth of crypto at any time, unless you need to be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to do that. Like just like you wouldn't carry that much in your pocket. So that's number one. You should use a hardware wallet. Like if you want multi-coin support, including Monero, you might want to look into one of the newer Trezor models. Those are pretty cool. There are other good ones that are just Bitcoin only or whatever that I don't know that much about, honestly. But yeah, do that and like leave it at home, and you can use like fucking can't even remember what they call it. There's like you can use a thing where you have 3 different seed phrases and you need 2 out of 3 or whatever. I don't know. Be smart about it. Keep your fucking mouth shut. Okay, don't let anyone know you have cryptocurrency, and just keep your fucking mouth shut. Don't have it on you. And maybe one day we'll have like smart wallets using smart contracts where you like can't withdraw too much, like the way ATMs work today. Next in digital security news, a new version of Cake Wallet is out. I think it's the first mobile wallet to have PayJoin v2, which is an improvement on PayJoin v1. If you don't know what that is, it's something that makes Bitcoin privacy better, and it saves on fees because a bunch of people do the transaction together. It's not as good as Whirlpool from Samurai Wallet, but for now, it's cool. And it's not a magic bullet. You shouldn't be mixing inputs that shouldn't be connected. If you have your drug money Bitcoin and your child prostitute Bitcoin and your normal everyday investment under your legal name, which is stupid, you shouldn't do that. Oh yeah, by the way, that's another thing. Don't use KYC exchanges. Don't buy crypto with KYC, especially if it's illegal in your country. That's another thing you shouldn't do. And people, by the way, people robbing you of cryptocurrency are definitely getting it because people used KYC exchanges. KYC exchanges get hacked, or people from the inside just leak the data. The data they have, which is personal information and financial information of people who have a lot of crypto, is really valuable data. So people steal it and people leak it for money. So if you put yourself on there, you're fucked sooner or later. And you're already fucked because someone else has your crypto, so go fuck yourself. Anyway, so yeah, that's cool, the new version of Cake Wallet. Also, Samurai Dojo, new version of that came out. That's got this thing by default called Soroban, which is a P2P Tor network for better privacy, and it will be used by later cool features that come out for Samurai Dojo. And there's something called Pando TX, which gives you more node privacy. Pretty much if you sign a transaction and you broadcast it on your own node, some folks might get a little worried about doing something like that because maybe someone could connect a node to certain things, certain transactions. There might be a pattern in there. Chain analysis might find something. Pando TX, the way that works is other people, other Samurai Dojo nodes on the Soroban network will do the thing for you. They'll broadcast the transaction for you. So it's better for we're broadcasting other people's transactions for each other, so that it's harder to tell which node. So that's cool. Samurai Dojo. You should totally have a Samurai Dojo if you use Bitcoin. But Monero is better for privacy. Sorry to the Bitcoin maximalists. Food and water security. This is just a silly bit of news. In Richmond, Virginia, there's a water boil advisory because their fucking water purification factories don't work. That's right, folks. We're talking about all kinds of security here. You're not very secure if you don't have water, if you don't have clean water, and if you get your water from the state, that's already a problem because even when it's working, it's not clean. Even when it's working, they're putting fucking fluoride and bleach and Lord knows what in there. They're probably putting the tears and blood of children that they tortured as part of some sort of, you people believe in that, right? I'm sure that'll, and yeah, fluoride, that's not good for you. Get your own water. You might want to get your well water tested though. That could be naturally fluoridated. Small time thugs news. Let's not forget about small time thugs. I'm not going to get political here. Okay, I don't give a shit about that stuff. But in and near Seattle, there's been persecution of Christians lately. I just want to say this so that you know that you can be persecuted for totally normal religious beliefs. And when I say persecuted, I mean violence. I mean like there's fucking riots where they're being violent towards people for being openly Christian. So just so you know, if you're in somewhere like Seattle where that can happen, that's real now. And you should either like keep your fucking head down and don't tell people and go to little events to do with your religion, especially if it's Christianity, or you should come like with a weapon and be ready for a fight and be happy to fight because it can be fun. Colorado Springs gunfight recently was oddly long. It lasted like minutes or something, which is weird. And it might mean that gangs are getting more powerful, at least in Colorado Springs. We'll see if that becomes a trend. I don't know, but it's pretty fucking weird, just so you know, for a gunfight between gang members not to break away in like seconds. It's really weird for it to last minutes. That's like a skirmish, okay? Which is cool. Hey, the police should have more, the bludgies should have more competition. In military threats news, there's an upcoming Israeli attack on Iran. Pretty much any day now. This is mostly if you're in Iran. Hopefully you've already tried to leave Iran. I know a lot of people want to do that. But yeah, Israel's going to attack Iran, like probably Iranian nuclear facilities or something. like any day now. Like maybe by next week, I'll be telling you that it happened. This is big good news for assholes in the governments of the U.S. and Israel, because they've been trying to provoke Iran into war since the 80s. Israel's been bragging openly for decades that they're going to take over the entire Middle East, starting from smallest to biggest, and Iran is like the final boss at the end. They have like a proper military and everything. Russia usually likes to back the other guy so they can have a proxy war with the U.S., but I don't think the Iran thing is going to trigger World War III. Yes, World War III, which is a threat that you should be thinking about. I'm just like Rayo 1, you see. I always think a nuclear war is around the corner. But it's really true this time, guys. They just got lucky in the Cold War. But yeah, World War III is probably going to happen sometime in the next 5 years. But I don't think the whole U.S. and Israel attacking Iran thing is going to trigger that. It's going to be more like the U.S.'s Ukraine. Same thing with Taiwan, most likely. China invading Taiwan. That'll just be their Ukraine, which means a chance to test out your toys, but not too much because the enemies are watching, and also get rid of some of your older stuff, whatever. It's like a warm-up for World War III. It's not super. You should be worried when you hear about something happening in Korea, because there are U.S. soldiers in Korea. Something funny happened between Cambodia and Thailand. There was a. I wish someone would make a comedy skit about this, because Cambodia and Thailand, Cambodia especially, is like a shitty backwater country full of farmers. No offense. But there was a border skirmish where like I can't even remember which side is which, but one side like dug a trench and the other side was like, it's like disputed territory. So they had a fight. Cambodia and Thailand have had a military skirmish, but and it was looking a little hairy there, but tensions are kind of dropping. There's like a ceasefire, so I don't know if anything's going to happen. It's probably fine. And this is a bit of a far away threat, but if you're in a country near the northwestern border of Russia, you should know that it's likely going to be invaded by Russia at some point in the next few years. There is a growing Russian military foothold in the northwest of Russia, near Norway, Finland, Estonia, and Latvia. That means they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. It's not going to happen tomorrow, or probably even this month or this year, but it's something to think about. If you're going to live in Eastern Europe, live in a hole in the ground and don't come out for a while, or just move to Switzerland in the mountains. That's even better. All right, that's it for news. Now I'm supposed to do an ad read. I don't have anything written, but I'm going to wing it. There's some new ghost phones. If you go to libertyunderattack.com/privacy tools, you'll see that Jammin has released new ghost devices. Now, if you don't know what that is, it means super cool privacy phones. The best in class we have right now. Take it from me, Thane Riddle, the privacy expert. Okay, if you really prioritize security above all, you want to go with the Graphene OS option. But if you want a bunch of apps installed already because like you feel like you're really dumb or you're not good with technology or something, then you can pick Calyx OS, which comes with a bunch of apps installed already. Installing apps is too much work for your brain. Go to libertyunderattack.com/privacy tools. Buy the new ghost phones. They have Pixel 7s and maybe 7 Pros. Pixel 7s, it's more expensive than getting like a Pixel 6 or something, but they are better, not just because they're newer. There's some kind of new hardware security feature that I think starting in the 7th generation Pixels, there's some sort of new hardware security feature that is super cool, but I can't remember what it is exactly. But I remember thinking it was cool. So go to libertyandroidtag.com/privacy tools and please get some new Graphene OS or Calyx OS phones. You're supporting the cause and getting a good product. It's really essential for you to, if you're going to use a fucking smartphone, it should be a Pixel, a recent Pixel with Graphene on it, or maybe Calyx. So if you don't have that, get it. I guess they probably take cryptocurrency and shit. You should totally get it. All right, I'll talk about. All right, let's get down and dirty, and I'll talk to you about. That's good. I've burned 20 minutes already. That's pretty good. I'll get down and dirty now, and we'll talk about stuff you can do in your life that makes your security better today. And today I'm going to talk about, and maybe this is just an autistic decision, but I've decided to just sort of cheat by going through the Vonu Life submission that I'm writing, which is called Hiding Stuff, and just like use the shit that I've already written as notes to tell you things. That's the behind the scenes there. I'm going to tell you about shrouding. Shrouding, as I said earlier, is something that most living things do for their security, which is they camouflage themselves, disguise themselves, or try to look boring. The gray man. Rock doves try to look boring because when they're sitting there on the ground, you just think it's like a rock or something, and you accidentally step on them. It's kind of backfires sometimes. That can happen to you too when you're a gray man. Disguising yourself, animals do that. They look like other things. And of course, camouflage, where it looks like you're not even there. You blend in with the background. Let me bring up my notes. First, I'm going to talk about camouflage. Well, actually, I'm going to give you an overview first. So camouflage is technically the best thing to do. If you don't need to be seen at all, then it's best if you're not. It's best if nothing even knows you're there, strictly speaking, from a privacy standpoint. But of course, if someone does see that you're there, you're wearing fucking camo. So unless you're at some sort of weird concert for whatever genre of music the fans wear camo at, and if that genre of music doesn't exist, maybe we should start it. Then you might look normal. But usually people wearing camo look weird. So when you're wearing camo, you're more often than not betting on not being seen and trying to make that as likely as possible. The gray man is most often what people go for when you have to be seen as a guy or something walking down the road or whatever, but you don't need to be seen as looking very interesting or very different from other people or very easy to remember. Then that's most likely what you want to go for if privacy is your priority. And then there's the disguise. When you can't avoid being seen, and also you can't be boring, you got to do something extra weird. The disguise is often the best thing to do. You look like somebody else or something else, and sometimes you need to do it in order to do something you want to do. Let's talk about camouflage first. Sorry about that. I was just injecting myself with cocaine and heroin. Talk about camouflage first. I was injecting myself with nanobots, okay, that make me blend into, they make light pass through me and make me invisible. Because they also make you better about thinking and talking about camouflage. Which camouflage you pick rests upon what the world around you will look like, and sometimes even how your foe is looking upon you. I'm thinking of infrared compliant camo. The foe is wearing night vision or whatever. Some camo doesn't work too well when someone's looking at you through night vision goggles, whereas it works a lot better when they're not. And not just because it's dark, but because some of the dyes and the fabrics they use, kind of look bright in the infrared, or the colors look too similar, so it all just looks like a solid color instead of, so some camos are easier to find than others. You might have to mix and match different kinds. But I'm going to give you, so there's a few different environments or purposes you have for camouflage. Now, obviously, we have woodland environments. That's where, it's like trees and shit, and it's green. That's like the camo people tend to think of. And then there's urban, rocky, arid, desert. And I throw all those together for good reason, which I'm going to get into soon. It might sound kind of weird that I'm putting urban and desert together, because what isn't urban gray and desert is tan? I'll talk about that. We have woodland, urban, snow, right? And then we've got other weird shit, like what I tend to call PPE camo. This is when you have something you are only going to buy one of because it costs too much, or you put a lot of your shit in something like a vest or a backpack, and it's too hard to move it from one to another, and also those things are expensive. So in that case, you want a camouflage pattern that is like a jack of all trades camouflage pattern that blends in more or less all right in different spots, but it may not be the best for any one of them. Now, PPE, I'm going to get into actual recommendations here. PPE stuff, the camo, the jack of all trades camo, they tend to be strong in what are called transitional environments. So sometimes these are called transitional camos. Transitional means somewhere between desert and woodland. Most deserts in the world are actually not just a bunch of sand, like the cartoons would have you believe. Most deserts in the world, like Afghanistan or whatever, are, there's some bushes and shit. Like there's a little greenery, it's not none. And these are called transitional environments. There's also places like in America that are like that, or whatever. There's all kinds of places that are like that. The best, like jack of all trades or transitional camo pattern, is something that you kind of won't find. Sorry, but I'm going to say it first anyway because it satisfies my urges. It's called US4 says transitional. I say it like that because it's the fucking number 4. US4 CES. US Forces transitional. You can buy, it's not IR compliant. You can buy rolls of it from the weird Canadian company that invented it. It's like some weird guy who's obsessed with camo, he's a real deal. Like he has contracts and stuff, and he's trying to make invisibility cloaks and stuff. And they actually are doing that, but they're just trying to keep it not secret, but anyway, U.S. Forces transitional is really cool. You can get rolls of it and make like a poncho out of it or something, or have it custom made, but that's expensive. There's also, I'll give you a little hack here. The Mexican Marines actually use U.S. Forces transitional, and they renamed it Marina Trans Jungle. So if you can somehow get your hands on, I know that in Mexico, they don't like sell everything to surplus to civilians the same way like they do in America, but there are ways. I think there are ways on the fly to get your hands on U.S. Marine camouflage. So that's one cool way to get it. If that doesn't work, you can get multicam. Multicam, everyone knows that one. It's a big one. It's good jack of all trades camo. It looks too bright in the woods, but it's not bad. And yeah, you can find a lot of shit in multicam. Usually you can find things in multicam. If you can't find things in the camouflage pattern at all, and you have to go with a solid color, the best jack of all trades solid color is coyote brown, whatever. The next best one is olive drab. And then, of course, we have black. Black is, being an all black is not great camo. Ninjas didn't actually wear that in real life. But having a little something black here and there is all right. Black is actually in every environment because every environment has shadows. So black is not ever totally out of place. And black deserves special mention because it's the one thing that doesn't look crazy. If you need to look like you're not wearing camo, but you also kind of want to blend in, black isn't bad because even if you wear coyote brown or olive drab, you look a little weird. You look like a hunter or something. People can tell if they're sharp anyway. Now for urban, rocky, arid, which I'm going to treat the same. Urban and desert, I'm going to treat the same. The best one is another one you can't find, called U.S. Forces Arid. The next best is AOR1. AOR1 is the desert pattern used by the U.S. Navy, and it's pretty good. After that, it's CADPAT AR. That's the Canadian desert camo. And then after that, it's Desert Marpat. If you can't get that, you can use multicam, coyote brown, olive drab, black, whatever. For woodland, U.S. Forces Woodland, which you can't find. If not that, AOR2, the Navy one, CADPAT TW, the Canadian one, or Woodland Marpat. That's the U.S. Marines one. I guess the only difference with the colors is that olive drab is better than coyote brown for woodland environments because it's greener. For snow, there's what is it, Finnish or some shit? It's called M05. Mike 05, M05 Snow. That one's really cool because it's got like little green specks and shit. It makes you kind of look like a tree with snow on it. It helps to break up your pattern. I feel like most snow camos, this isn't scientific, this is just how I feel. Most snow, because believe it or not, a lot of the stuff I just said to you, it's scientifically, there isn't enough camo research out there, but scientifically, objectively, the camo I just recommended to you is the best. And even the order that I said it in is actually backed by research. There isn't a lot of research, but there's a little. But this one, when it comes to the snow, this isn't research, this is my feelings. I think M05 Snow might be better than the other ones I'm saying. I just feel that way because it breaks up your pattern more with the green shit instead of all just being different kinds of white. After that, there's Snow Marpat, which looks pretty good. And there's CADPAT WO. And then, of course, there's shit that's just white. And for night vision, you want NIR compliant stuff. That means that they either use different fabrics or they spray it. There is a spray you can get. They can get a bit weird. Depending on where you live, they can get a bit weird about selling civilians NIR compliant camo because it has implications. Okay, if you're wearing normal camo, whatever, maybe it's a fashion statement. Maybe you like military surplus. Maybe you want to go to that concert that we were talking about earlier. But if you're wearing NIR compliant, you're specifically looking for NIR compliant stuff. It implies that you want to blend in. I don't know if you know this, but deer don't have night vision goggles. They would like to, but they don't. Deer do not wear night vision goggles. You're not hunting with that. You're not hunting anything on four legs. Well, maybe they'll be on four legs by the end. But yeah, it implies things that you're worried about having like paramilitary level conflicts with other people, maybe even your own government. So governments tend not to like that. The state tends not to enjoy arming you to be good against it. That's what they're really thinking about. So in some places, they're weird about at least selling new NIR compliant camo to people. But, military surplus, whatever, if you know your stuff or you do your research, you'll find something that's NIR compliant anyway, just in military surplus, or you get it shipped to you from abroad. Let's talk about heat vision just for 1 second. Heat vision, that's different from normal night vision. You can't, the funny thing about heat vision, it really does have a lot to do with heat. So to hide from heat vision, you gotta hide your heat signature, which means whatever you do, you're gonna be hot in there. And I'm just gonna be like, you know what, man, just you should have a Mylar space blanket anyway for survival reasons if you're really into your security. Mylar space blanket is really useful. It has a lot of different uses, and it packs down really small and it's really light, so you should have one in a pinch. Now it looks like some shiny metallic alien spaceship material, like something that fell from Roswell or whatever. So it's not, to the naked eye, something that blends in. But if you happen to know someone's looking at you under heat vision, then just put a fucking space blanket on. It makes you a lot darker under heat vision. It'll be a lot harder to see. And by the way, tying shit to yourself that you found lying around can help. Like twigs and like leaves, stuff like that. You can also shell out for a ghillie suit. Ghillie suit is a fancy word for a suit that makes you look like some crap that's lying on the ground. So yeah, either find crap lying on the ground, tie it to yourself, or get a fancy suit that makes you look like some crap lying on the ground. I'm going to make this point about the rucksack or backpack. Sometimes you need to use the same one day to day or going through civilization as you use for something tactical, or maybe those are the same thing. Maybe the tactical operation is in the city. So the rucksack or backpack is a piece of equipment everyone can see that does not make you look like you're ready to blow some shit up, but you might be. Make it black. If it needs to be the same one in the woods and in the city, make it black. And just use a backpack cover when you're in the woods, or maybe a big fucking poncho. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about why am I treating urban camo and desert camo the same? Well, isn't urban camo gray? So here's the thing, and they even have a special shade of gray too that they market for this. There's a 511 has something called Storm Gray, which is cool and all, but like I said, there isn't a lot of research on this. There's not a lot of research on this, but there's a little bit. And one particular study, I think was done by the US military, found that desert camo works the same or much better than gray urban camos in urban environments. We might think it might sound plausible that wearing gray blends in urban environments, but if you have to pick a camo for an urban environment that's actual camo, I think it should be desert. And that's for a few reasons. One is that in the fucking study, it worked better. And another is urban and so-called urban environments actually tend to have a bit of greenery. People have gardens, there are parks. Gray sticks out too much. Desert camo is not great for those places, but it's not as bad as gray. So just try, if you really need camo in an urban environment, try out the desert patterns. There are some caveats here. So one is it's controversial whether there is any such thing as good urban camo at all. A lot of people would say you're going to stick out in an urban environment no matter what you do. To some, that is true, a little, but and it is true that gray man is more often than not better than camo. Here's how you pick, okay? I'll make it real fucking easy for you. If your urban environment for the operation has people in it going about their lives and walking around, dress like those people. Do the gray man thing. Don't do camo. Yes, even if you've got big black guns, and they should be black, hopefully. Even if you've got big black guns and straps and all that, if you mostly look like an everyday person walking about, it will cause your foe to hesitate an extra 100 milliseconds or whatever, and that could be life or death. But if the urban environment is abandoned, it's a construction site, it's war-torn, shit's been popping off for a long time, tanks have been rolling through, everything's broken, and there's nobody around anyway, so seeing anyone would be unusual, that's where you go for the desert camo. And trust me, cities that are war-torn or abandoned or construction sites, they are more brown than cities that aren't. Oh, I'm looking at my fucking notes. There's a new pattern, new transitional pattern that just came out. The Canadian military is going to try and force it on everybody, kind of like they did with ACU in the US, except it's much better than ACU. Well, that's a low bar, but CADPAT MT is supposed to be their transitional pattern, and it looks good. It looks like a good transitional or jack of all trades pattern. I haven't put it in my recommendations because there's no research yet. I actually have scientific research to back my claims up there, but CADPAT MT is pretty good. Also, it's going to be hard to find because even soldiers in Canada, a lot of them don't have it yet. So getting it in surplus would be kind of hard, I bet. When snow is mostly just on the ground and not anywhere else, you might want to think about putting snow camo pants on, and then everything else can be whatever, woodland, if it's a woodland environment. And lastly, I'm going to give my last point on camo here will be about face painting. I'll be straight up with you. I don't know that much about face painting, but it is a very old and storied craft, I'm sure. And it does work. Your face, I mean, you can cover your face with like a bandana or whatever, sunglasses, helmet. But face painting is worth looking into, especially if it sounds like something you think is cool. I think if I remember the Discovery Channel or the Magic School Bus with Ms. Frizzle or whatever, I think it's like you put dark colors on where lighting tends to fall, like on top of your forehead or on top of your nose, and then lighter colors underneath where shadows tend to fall. This is the same thing that you see on animals, like, you know how like a deer or a fucking fox or something will have darker colors on top and then their belly and stuff will be lighter. It's the opposite of the lighting. It helps to cancel out the shade, which sort of makes it harder to perceive the three-dimensional shape of the body and harder to notice that something is there or that it is that thing. Somebody asked tips for concealed carrying in an urban environment, clothes, holsters, etc. I do have that, but not today. That's actually another thing that I've already written on in my upcoming submission for PAZNIA Life. Because I've actually managed to almost burn 30 minutes so far talking about shrouding. See if anyone else asked about this shit. No, okay. But I guess I'll, I don't know, maybe I'll cheat. I don't have that much to say about, fuck it. Maybe I'll leave it for later. I managed to burn up enough time talking about camo, so maybe I'll leave the other shrouding categories for another day. Those are disguises and gray man. I honestly feel like I have less to say about them, but I'm sure I'll be able to pretend. All right. That's it for camouflage today. Not shrouding, but camouflage. And I'll talk next week about the gray man. I'll talk next week about gray man being boring. I'm pretty good at being boring, as you can tell. So tune in next week for information about being boring. All right. Now I'm gonna read some fan mail. My first letter comes from Anonymous. Thane, your voice is too sexy. It's making my freemate feel insecure. Do you have any tips for making my freemate feel more secure? Unfortunately, Anonymous, this is not the kind of security that I know very much about, to be honest. When I say security, I mean like, not being killed or like killing someone else. I don't know anything about feelings or relationships. That's not my strong suit, so I can't help you with that. But you could just, I don't know, man. I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I don't know about that. My next letter. Please give me a PS5 for Xmas with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Thank you. Thank you for this letter. I think that you may have sent this to the wrong person. I think you may have sent this to Santa Claus. But I can't afford a PS5. Please send your donations so that we can get this kid a PS5. Check the show notes for information on the PS5 fund. Okay, my next letter says, please stop asking me for fan mail. Your show doesn't even exist yet, and my wife and children were very disturbed by your last attempt to contact us. Thank you for your feedback. I'm always looking for feedback from listeners. Please make sure to send similar feedback to this to me or something on SimpleX or on Session, or maybe if your privacy is not very good, you could email me at Thane at AAAs, that's 3A's.com. Check the show notes and send me more helpful feedback like this. All right. I don't know if that was enough of a palate cleanser, but here you go. Here's me talking again for another half hour. Today, we're going to talk about our topic for building the second realm. What does the future need when it comes to What I'm thinking is building a more secure, privacy-oriented future where people in general are more secure, not through collective movementism, but through entrepreneurship, through building new technology and services and shit like that. Stuff that might actually change the world. Now, the thing that I want to talk about today is mesh networking, because mesh networking is really important and cool. And that's the first thing I'm going to talk about. Digital networking is a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Because everything else digital, pretty much, except for, I don't know, like using a calculator or something, rests upon networking. You need to send data to other people. You need to get data from other people. So digital networking is a big fucking deal. Everything else rests on that. The whole internet is that. And all these little decentralized networks and encrypted protocols and cool shit like that, they all use the internet to work. It could be Tor, it could be I2P, it could be fucking SimpleX or Session. It could be BitTorrent. So you can see the latest Marvel movie, which is fucking garbage. They're all garbage. Don't watch it. But it all works on the internet. So the internet's a big fucking deal. And yet, the internet sucks. The internet's fucked up. Let's talk about that for a second. The internet is, I'm not going to say it's centralized, because it's not quite centralized, but it is hierarchical, and not as decentralized as I would like. It was created by the government, and they never really ceded power over the internet. When it comes to how IP addresses are assigned, how domain name ownership is worked out, stuff like that, which is a big deal for how the internet works, is all run by the state. And it's run by a worse and scarier state than it used to be. Because just like, I don't know, 10 or so years ago, or maybe 10 or 15 years ago, the US handed it over. They handed ICANN or whatever over to the UN. So now it's it's not the US that controls it anymore. Now it's the UN. I actually don't know which is worse, but it's probably worse. Whatever. But yeah, the internet's not great, and there's also this funny thing, this funny threat. Since I'm supposed to warn you about threats, this funny threat that might be coming up in the next several years. They call the cyber pandemic. You remember how in like 2019 they did a war game about a virus, a global pandemic, fucking everybody up, and what we need is fascism to answer it. We need forced vaccination and fascism. And then the next year, something kind of like that actually happened, or at least they said it did. They did a war game like that, which we sometimes call the cyber pandemic war game, where hackers hack into the financial system, and oh my god, everything goes down. It's like that one Die Hard movie. It's like the fucking fifth Die Hard movie or something, fifth or seventh Die Hard movie or something, where Russian hackers. This was before Russian hackers did this and that was like a trend. Russian hackers took everything down. Oh, the airplanes are not working. Blah blah blah. So we need the government to take more control of stuff. That's something they're planning. That will probably happen. Call me crazy, but I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, you see. And the last couple of years, there have been little pieces of something like this, like when they use some of them are just ransomware attacks against big targets, like that one where there was a ransomware attack against like a big meat processor or something, and they used Monero and said that it was Russian hackers. That's really convenient since they want to ban Monero and go to war with Russia. But so maybe it was a false flag attack. But and then there's stuff like they shut down the internet in this or that country, and they say, oh, whoops, that was an accident. Not that long ago, they shut down like payment processors. I think this was like a year ago. They shut down all the payment processors at once, and everything stopped. Car rentals and airports and everything stopped because credit cards weren't working on like one particular day a year ago, and like it like affected the whole world. That's them testing things, and one day they're going to do them all at once. Or one day the Russian hackers will come, because Russia actually does have good cyber attack capabilities. That's true. I'm not going to deny that. But anyway, when something like that happens, their plan, according to the cyber pandemic war game, is once again all-out fascism to formally combine banks with the government and make it that you need to use your ID to log into the internet. Okay, this is what they want to do. They want to lock down the internet. The internet as we know it, I say all this to say, the internet as we know it is not very good, and it might have a bit of a bleak future. So we need to build something else, and we should do it before that happens. That would be good. And I think the answer is mesh networking. What is mesh networking? Mesh networking is a decentralized, distributed way of computers to fucking connect to each other and network. And the way it works is it's kind of like a P2P networking protocol, which means all computers are the same. They're all peers. They all do routing, and one computer connects with whatever computers happen to be nearby. So instead of the way the internet works is hierarchical, right? The old internet, your computers and your phones and stuff connect to the router at your home or at fucking Starbucks or something. And then those routers connect to the modems, and then the modems connect to the ISPs, and the ISPs connect to other shit, and so on and so forth. It's a hierarchical system controlled by corporations and the government. It's not very good, and it's already been used to censor people. There are already countries where they shut down the internet when people protest, etc. We want something that is more, let's say, censorship resistant or disaster resistant. And mesh networking to me seems like the in-your-face answer to that, where each device decides what to do for itself. It doesn't have to ask anyone for permission. It doesn't have to go to a greater authority to access the wider internet. It just connects to whoever it can connect to, and it says, hey, who else are you connected to? Can you pass my message along? And so on and so forth. If there are enough nodes connected, then you can pass your message all the way around the world. And that's basically mesh networking. But mesh networking has its challenges to do with scalability and routing and stuff. It's come a long way. There are mesh networks. There have been for a long time. Mesh network software. The old school mesh networks, while they've made a lot of strides when it comes to working out how to fucking do it at all, they don't work that well. The old school mesh networks aren't that great. And I mean, besides the technical challenges, the number one reason why I think the old school mesh networks have not taken off, because trust me, there's room for mesh network to take off right now, because in some countries more than others, the fascist sort of government corporate controlled telecom industries, they don't produce very good results. They give people very expensive service. They're slow. They're unreliable. There's not enough competition. So there is an economic opportunity for some kind of competition to provide these resources for cheaper or better in some way. But mesh networks haven't really gotten off the ground beyond a few nerds messing around to prove a point or because they like it. And I think the number one reason why the old school ones haven't taken off is that they're not tokenized. They're just done for free. Like there's mesh networks for people just volunteer their own resources. So you can make your router a mesh node that will freely talk to any other mesh node. And it's like no one cares. Like, why would someone want to donate their resources to make this happen? Especially when there's currently no great infrastructure available to do anything super cool with it. That's why it doesn't take off, except in rare cases, maybe in certain disaster zones or whatever. There have been minor success stories. So the answer is tokenization. You need market forces to drive something like this. Supply and demand, prices. You need it to be that if I put a mesh node somewhere and I run it, I might make money. It might pay for itself and then more. And then in order to use the network, you've got to pay something, but it'll probably not be very much. Now, I'm not the first one to think of this because there are tokenized meshnet protocols around right now. And that's because we have cryptocurrency now. And cryptocurrency is a big fucking deal because cryptocurrency solves this problem of monetizing stuff in a decentralized way. And that's a big fucking deal. It opens the door to a lot of other stuff. And one of those things is monetized mesh networking that's decentralized, monetized in a decentralized way. But there is a problem yet again. There's a problem yet again with tokenized meshnet protocols. There are a few projects like this. There's an Ethereum-based one called Althea, which even has a few places where people actually use it, that they deliberately went out of their way to build. And there's some Chinese shit that didn't get off the ground called Smart Mesh. I can't remember what they're called, but there are a couple other projects, monetized crypto meshnet projects that use only LoRa, and I'll tell you what LoRa is in a second. But all these crypto monetized mesh network projects that exist right now have they're cool and maybe they serve some purpose, but they have a major problem. In my view, they all, just like most cryptocurrency projects, they all rest on the assumption that you already have internet connectivity. Because that's how blockchains work. The way blockchains work is everyone in the fucking universe on this protocol has the same information. You download the blockchain, you have the same information. That's the only way for almost all blockchain-based cryptocurrencies to work. And to my mind, the kind of mesh network that we really need, monetized mesh network that we really need, is one that you can bootstrap. You can build it in the fucking middle of the desert where there's no reception. You can, after a disaster happens and there's no internet connectivity, like fucking something like Hurricane Katrina or whatever happens, we want a mesh network that will be resilient and continue to function, including the monetization aspect, because it doesn't need an internet connection to work. It doesn't need knowledge about what's going on the other side of the world. It just needs to connect with whoever it can connect with. That's what we want. Same thing goes for, let's say, a wartime scenario. Maybe there is a group of crypto anarchist revolutionaries who are in armed conflict with the government, and the government doesn't like that, so they shut down the internet, or they lock down the internet, using them as an excuse, or using something else as an excuse. That might make it hard to use blockchain-based stuff, or at least harder. Not necessarily impossible, but harder. And when I say middle of the desert where there's no reception, that's a real thing. There are third world countries right now where no disasters happened. It's just that there's never any internet access there. There are third world countries right now ripe for development. And just the same way that there are more unbanked people, there are unbanked people. Like, that's a bad thing. And they're more likely to adopt cryptocurrency. Just like that, in places where there's no internet connection at all, they're more likely to adopt a monetized mesh network protocol that can work without internet connectivity. And boy, oh boy, that sort of thing should be a gold rush right now, because like there are, places are growing economically all the time. Somewhere like fucking, I forget the name of a really well-known African country. Now I'm one of those people who will just say Africa. Fuck, is it Rwanda? Maybe it's Rwanda. But the point is, there are places in the world where people live in mud huts, but they have smartphones. And those people are using cryptocurrency already. They're ready for a mesh network. That could be the only internet they have, the only internet they use. This could be a big deal. There are also simply cities in the world. There are cities in the world right now where you pay for an account that gives you Wi-Fi. All over the city, they have Wi-Fi access points. So then there are people like in Hong Kong or fucking, I think you can do this in New York City too. You don't even need a SIM card or to talk to cell phone towers, because there's Wi-Fi everywhere on this network, and you pay for that, and it's cheaper. This is the kind of thing, and that could be done with mesh networking too. But anyway, you need. So how the fuck do we do this? Bootstrapping a meshnet where there is no internet. We need a chainless token. And this kind of exists already. There is the vast majority of cryptocurrency projects are blockchain projects. And people sort of think of cryptocurrency and blockchain as synonymous, but that's not really true. There are a few cryptocurrency projects out there or related things that aren't, there is no blockchain. And I think that that's later on in the 21st century that I think that's going to be a bigger deal, because blockchains are great for recording information and spreading it all over the place. And there are times when that's what you want to do, but you don't need to do that for a cryptocurrency. And let me say this, cryptocurrency at its heart isn't about currency at all. It's about digital law enforcement. Digital law enforcement. There are rules that are enforced in a network. Everyone has to behave according to the rules on the network without any centralized authority enforcing it, making it so, because the software of the network takes care of it. It works in an infectious, decentralized way. This new form of digital law enforcement is very important, and it's about much more than just currency. And thinking about it that way helps, because I have some friends who are thinking about building a new mesh networking project that would work the way that I'm saying, without the assumption of an initial internet connection. And something they're thinking of building with is called holochain. Now, holochain is not even a cryptocurrency project exactly. There is no native cryptocurrency. There's no hollow coin or something. Rather, it's just the tools to create these holochain networks, or HAPs, these holochain apps, as they call it. And your HAP can have a token if you want. You can make cryptocurrencies with holochain, but holochain doesn't come with a cryptocurrency baked in. And holochain, as you'll see on their website, which I don't fucking know, but I'll tell you, holochain is spelled HOLO chain, like hologram or something, holographic site. Holochain is made just for this kind of thing. There's an island. The example they use, an island connected to the mainland with a particular wireless tower or whatever, and a storm comes and knocks it down. The networks on both sides of this rift, though the network is spliced in two, the networks continue to function on their own. And then when they're reconnected again, they continue to function and they start communicating again seamlessly. This is the way HAPs are supposed to work. So HAPs are great, especially for building things where that would matter, like energy markets. Somebody's making an energy market HAP, and there are other interesting HAPs under development to do with cool financial shit and weird stuff like that. And I think they may be on the right track when it comes to using holochain for a mesh network, for monetizing a mesh network. I don't want to get too technical here about the way holochain works, but it's true some security is sacrificed for scalability, but just for having a chainless protocol. So like instead of having fuck, I lost my train of thought. By the way, any links / show notes for today's show will be on vonupodcast.com/CD1. Because I'm saying a lot of shit, and you're going to see links there regarding shit that I said. But yeah, holochain, the way it works is, you have random cryptographic keys, and the keys that are close to each other nodes that have keys close to yours are considered neighbors. And it is the responsibility of neighbors to enforce the rules on each other by validating their actions. And if a neighbor does something wrong that the protocol that the HAP says they shouldn't do, then you can issue a warrant against them. And if a particular node collects a few warrants, that's a sign that it's a bad actor, and they could be excommunicated, they could be ostracized, banned from the protocol. And that's how this form of decentralized digital law enforcement works. It doesn't require a blockchain, and it's hard to collude because you can't easily brute force a bunch of keys that are close to each other so that you can have a group of colluders, malicious actors that are just validating each other's wrong actions. It's not easy to do. That's basically how it works without getting too technical. Now, you only need to make a tokenization layer because mesh network software out there already exists. There's mesh networking software that isn't monetized, but it could be. You could just add a monetization layer to a mesh network software that already exists. Now, my friends who are thinking about building something like this are looking at Reticulum, and I know that there are a couple friends in the PAZNIA network who are otherwise connected to Reticulum. I've looked at Reticulum briefly. It looks really cool. And I do see eye to eye with that so far. I haven't tried Reticulum myself, but it looks good. I think Reticulum, it possesses qualities that are really important for something like this. So you want the mesh network of the future shouldn't care how you're connected to each other. Yeah, maybe you're talking over, because a lot of mesh network projects have been married to one particular form of connection. Like there are mesh network projects that are just Wi-Fi mesh network projects. You just Wi-Fi routers talking, just Wi-Fi devices talking to each other. And that's not good. There are also, like I mentioned earlier, some LoRa board. I guess this would be a good time to tell you what LoRa is. LoRa is a form of cheap hardware and protocol for connecting wirelessly using radio transmissions. LoRa is short for long range, which doesn't tell you much. There are a lot of long range radio transmission protocols, but what's interesting about LoRa is that the hardware is really cheap and it doesn't use a lot of power. And it can give you long range for low bandwidth, high latency transmissions. What does that mean? Low bandwidth means not sending a big piece of data like a fucking 4K video stream, but maybe sending a little bit of data like a text message or like a remote control. Locking a door or setting off an alarm or something like that. So all the most important stuff is low bandwidth stuff. You can do a lot, or even shitty little websites could work over low bandwidth connections. High latency means it takes a long time for data to go from point A to point B. A long time in digital context means, 100 milliseconds instead of 10 milliseconds, or 3 seconds instead of half a second or something. So it's not that long, but it's the type of thing that might matter for some things. But point being, you can do a lot with LoRa, and a lot of people interested in mesh networking. Oh, the other thing about LoRa, for those of you who like legal interstices, LoRa is not very regulated. That's the thing. You don't need a license to transmit on LoRa. Any idiot can make a LoRa transceiver, and also you're allowed to have encryption over LoRa. So at least that's the way it is now. You can't trust that will always be the case, especially when we're using LoRa to great effect, and it'll be too little too late, but one day, maybe 10 or 20 years from now, they'll say LoRa is used by terrorists and they'll ban it. But for now, they don't. It's totally free. Pretty much you can do anything legally with LoRa. So a lot of people are excited about it for that reason. There are one or two mesh networking projects that are just LoRa only. There's a non-monetized one called Meshtastic. There's a cryptocurrency one where you need the fucking blockchain. You need to be connected to the internet. That uses LoRa devices. I can't remember what it's called. But what you want, ideally, from a mesh network software is for it not to care how you're connected. You could be connected via Ethernet or fiber optics or fucking Wi-Fi or cell phone towers or satellites or LoRa. It shouldn't matter. Different kinds of nodes connected in different kinds of ways should all be able to be part of the same network. That's the way the internet works, after all. And in the techie field, we call this the network layer, as opposed to other layers like the application layer or the data link layer. The data link layer is, how things connect or whatever. But this is a network layer application, something to replace the internet that will work over everything, just like the internet does. I'm being asked to promote the call-in line again if I see this message. PAZNIA.com/call. We're going to have call-in soon, so get your ass ready to go to PAZNIA.com/call. But anyway, so Reticulum works that way. It's agnostic to the data link layer, doesn't care how you're connected. So it could be a good option. I also see that there are some cool apps already built on Reticulum, and I've heard wind of a couple of cool projects that are being built on Reticulum. So it does seem like a good pick for making a monetization layer using Holochain or something else that works. Holochain plus Reticulum could be the answer. Now, you might be wondering what my ulterior motive is here, since I have friends who are interested in working on a project like this. They are interested in meeting people who are also interested in working on a project like this. If you, and don't be shy, okay? You don't have to know anything about Reticulum or Holochain or mesh networking. You don't even have to be a very good programmer, or even maybe a programmer at all. If you're interested in working on a project like this, get in touch with us through the links in the show notes. You can talk to me on Session, SimpleX. Actually, I'm having technical difficulties on SimpleX. So let's make it Session, or email me or something. Don't worry, everything's gonna be fine, folks. We're gonna get this act on the road. And all right, that concludes the building the fucking second realms, whatever. I'm sure I'll have a name for that segment one day. Here's another ad read. Your ad here. Would you like to reach 3 people who are really good people, though, with your product or service? Sell them the product or service. This radio show that you're listening to right now just began, and we don't know what we're doing. So you can get in on the ground floor with a cheap contract to advertise on this show. And maybe if you pay for a few months of it, the show will have like 3 more listeners in 3 months. So then it'll be a good deal because you paid the price that it is now. Your product or service in the second realm can be advertised to the coolest people. Some of them have money, some of them live in vans. But regardless, they're people who value cool shit like your product or service, and they'd love to hear about it on our show, Cloak and Dagger, right here with Thane Riddle. Thane Riddle can butcher your ad read by throwing in inappropriate jokes about child molestation and all sorts of stuff like that, and get you lots of money by having a sponsorship on Cloak and Dagger. Contact us at the links in the show notes about advertising on the show. This is the part of the show where I guess an interview would be, but there is no interview because there's no guest today. Maybe next week, we'll see. But yeah, I guess hey, you can call in now. But you can call into the show at PAZNIA.com/call. Oh wait, I forgot. I had a question to do with mesh networking. Somebody asked. At the festival. Somebody set a mesh network up at Vonu Fest. Wait, not at Vonu Fest, but at Midfest in April. They were doing R&D about Nextcloud over rnode/Meshtastic/ etc. That would be amazing. Thoughts? My thoughts are Meshtastic is not fit for the task. Meshtastic was cool like 3 years ago. Is rnode Reticulum? I don't know. If so, yeah, that's cool. I think Nextcloud over Reticulum probably could work. Though Nextcloud is honestly, I mean, Nextcloud is cool and all, but it's kind of bloated. And there's a really cool app on Reticulum for just text-based websites and services, kind of similar to, if a nerd is listening, they might know what Gopher is. It's kind of like Gopher, where you just have text-based websites. That would work really well over Reticulum. I'm not saying that normal websites wouldn't, or that Nextcloud wouldn't work, but it just wouldn't work as well. I think. Actually, no, sorry. I misspoke. To say it wouldn't work well over reticulum is silly. What I'm really thinking of is LoRa, because I feel like LoRa has amazing potential given that it's cheap and you don't need that many nodes to cover a lot of area. But actually, reticulum can work over anything. So you get anything working on reticulum. You could have fiber optics connecting neighbors to each other, and everyone has their own little fiber optic router thing, and they're connected to their neighbors with fiber optic cables. Now that would be a strong mesh network infrastructure. But yeah, it depends on the infrastructure. So yeah, we can go to call-ins now, I guess. Go to PAZNIA.com/call. We're lucky if we get even one caller. So if you're even thinking about it, please do. You can also enter the text chat and ask your question. PAZNIA.com/radio. I don't even know. I don't know if anybody's actually going to call. But I could. I'm not going to sing. Too shy for that. Go to fucking PAZNIA.com/call. How long should we wait to see if anyone calls? Could also go to music and see if anyone calls. We're just making it up as we go along here, folks. I don't have enough material to take up 2 hours. I came pretty close though. Actually, I mean, I could talk more. I kind of feel like that's boring though. Too much talking. I could do a 12-hour show. Why stop at 2 hours? I could talk for 12. Would you like that? If the producer wants, he could send me his own questions. And we'll pretend that it's from a fan. We'll pretend it's from another listener. Ready to close out whenever. Okay. It's been real, folks. Thank you so much for listening, for all your support, all your messages. There were so many call-ins that you overloaded the system. We weren't able to handle this response. We didn't think there would be this many people listening, this many people calling in. So we couldn't even take a single call in because you broke the system. And but what a wonderful problem to have. My heart goes out to you. Thank you so much. Thank you to the guy in the machine room, sweating, no proper ventilation, red light. He's getting his red light therapy. Scotty in the machine room. Let's see, what constitutes a good outro? Well, what a beautiful show we've had today. So amazing, star-studded guests and many call-ins. It's a great start to the greatest show that's ever been made. So I'm told. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying what other people are saying. I am actually a privacy and security expert consultant for real. I've done it for many years. I've dealt with everything you can imagine. Actually, no, that's not true. But I've dealt with a lot of crazy shit. People trying to disappear for this and that reason. You can contact me through the show notes, stuff that you find in the show notes, me on session or whatever. If you need help with anything to do with privacy and security, it could be a small everyday thing, or it could be something really serious. And I will, if you can prove that you're a vetted PAZNIan, I'll give you a pretty steep discount. Even if you're a digital stakeholder, I'll give you a good discount if you can somehow prove that. And our next show will be next week on Saturday at, 3 p.m. Eastern. And wait, is that right? No, it was 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific.
Correct. 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. It's been great. Thank you so much for all the support. peace and love or hate as appropriate. Have a great week, a secure week. Stay frosty out there.